Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I beg to move that the bill be read a second time, and that we come together now in the very best traditions of this House to scrutinise this legislation.
What I wanted to ask him about, he's been giving so many reassurances to Labour members behind me. I wonder if you could give a reassurance to me about the fact of this trapdoor that is at the heart of this Brexit deal. We know that if there isn't an arrangement that's agreed by the end of December of next year, we risk crashing out with no deal.
Mr. Speaker, I can indeed give her the assurance that there will be no crashing out, because we will negotiate a great new friendship and partnership within the timescale that is allotted. I know that honourable members on all sides of the House have every confidence in this government to do that.
Does he agree with himself when he said we should go into these negotiations with a clear agenda to root out the nonsense of the social chapter, the Working Time Directive, the Atypical Work Directive, and other job-destroying regulations? If that's what he said then, why should we believe a word that he says on this?
The accompanying provisions in Schedule 5 include a duty on any minister, to get to the point that's been raised, who introduces relevant legislation to make clear that workers' rights will not be weakened in any way.
This place can be quite intimidating at times. I came here believing that people who sounded a bit posh and walked around with an air of entitlement somehow knew what they were doing. And if nothing else, I thank the Prime Minister for disproving that at least.
There is no legal protection within this bill for a dynamic alignment on rights with the European Union, on consumer rights, environmental protection, workers' rights and much else besides. So I just urge colleagues to think very, very carefully on how they vote on this particular bill tonight.
He is expecting MPs to vote for something that we know will damage this country economically without revealing the impact assessment. What does this government have to hide?
I was incredibly concerned when I was reminded by my wife earlier today that my wife and I spent longer choosing a sofa than we have to debate this incredibly important bill.
Whether it is air pollution, tackling air pollution, or enhancing biodiversity, this country can do better than simply by sticking with EU norms.
When we look at the so-called reassurances, we're supposed to believe that the Environment Bill is going to be able to answer the question of how we properly regulate in the absence of the Commission and the European Court of Justice. Yet this Environment Bill, when you give it any scrutiny, as indeed our committee, the Environmental Audit Committee, did, shows, for example, that the Office of Environmental Protection is insufficiently independent. It's answerable to government, not to Parliament. It doesn't have the ability to levy the fines, which has been the one thing in the past that has finally made this government come into line when it comes to issues like air pollution. The environmental principles are also very weak, because they simply sit there in a policy statement, I have to say, that we haven't even been allowed to see, rather than being on the face of the bill.
And on the issue of sovereignty, we're part of the EU regulations, we're part of the EU customs code, we've got checks down the Irish border, we are subject in future to any trade deals that the United Kingdom does, subject to whether or not that conflicts with EU protocols. And indeed, the Prime Minister said, oh, but it'll all dissolve if you had a free trade arrangement which would allow it to dissolve. But again, it is made quite clear that only if the EU agree in that free trade arrangement to release us from the protocols can we take the benefits of that free trade arrangement. That's the issue of sovereignty, that Northern Ireland will be left as a semi-detached part of the United Kingdom, and of course in the long run the whole focus of attention will move from Westminster to Dublin. Who will we have to speak for us in Europe when these regulations come through? Who will we have to speak for us in Europe when customs rules are affecting us? We won't have the UK government, and increasingly the focus will be to the Dublin government. The safety valve which there is in the Belfast Agreement has been taken away. The Prime Minister said, oh, it's taken away because it's a reserved matter anyway. These are not reserved matters. Indeed, the very reason why you have a whole section in the bill about what the Northern Ireland Assembly can do and can't do is because they are devolved matters. And yet, on these devolved matters, on this one issue, the government has agreed to take away the central principle of consent, and that, I can tell you, will do damage